Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are watching this. If you're new here, my name's Georgia. I'm a women's online health and fitness coach, and it is literally my sole purpose as a coach on this planet to help you step into your ultimate confidence across literally all areas of your life and just feel unstoppable. And if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back for another YouTube video. I thought I would do a little bit more of a chatty video today because I have suddenly realized that we are nearly a quarter of the way through 2025. So if you are someone who set some big goals at the beginning of the year, and let's be honest, if you're watching this video, you probably are one of those people, but you haven't quite reached them yet, you haven't seen the progress that you have wanted to see so far, I'm going to be giving all of the top tips to make sure that that happens throughout the rest of this year. It is also freezing in my office today. I have no idea why. It's not actually that cold outside. So if my lips look a little blue, mind your business, because this is what happens when I get cold. I am literally that person. I literally sat down yesterday when I was planning this video and made a list of every single thing that is going to change the game when it comes to your 2025 goals. So with that being said, let's jump into the video because this is going to be absolute gold. Now, like I said at the beginning of this video, we are literally coming up to the quarter way mark, if I can call it that. Quarter way mark? You know what I mean? We're coming up to being a quarter of the way through 2025. I know that you sat down, you set those goals at the beginning of the year, and the progress hasn't quite been how you want it to be. So we are going to change that. There are three big things that I want you to take away from the video. So let's jump into the first one, which is setting realistic goals. As a primarily weight loss coach, I'm going to focus on like weight loss as a goal, but obviously your goals will be whatever they are. This can be applied to personal goals, work goals, financial goals, gym goals, physique goals, performance goals, literally any goals. So first of all, we want to make sure that goal is realistic and also time bound. So let's say, for example, you are wanting to lose 2 stone. You want to look at where you are now and whether 2 stone loss is actually realistic. And in this example, probably didn't give the best example here, 2 stone is most definitely a realistic amount of like weight loss for a lot of people, depending on their starting body weight. Secondly, to tag onto that, are you setting a time attached to that goal? Are you just saying, okay, this year I want to lose 2 stone? Because it's not going to take you a year to lose 2 stone. I'm going to be completely honest. And if it is, hit me up in the DMs because I can sort that out for you. If you are not setting your time-bound goals, it's so easy to get to the end of the year and panic, crash diet, lose the weight, and then put it all back on when it comes to 2026. And this is why we have this constant yo-yo when it comes to things like weight loss, when it comes to things like your goals as well, because you're not setting those deadlines, you're not creating that little bit of pressure for yourself, which is a good thing, by the way. We want that little bit of intrinsic pressure to get your butt into gear. But also as well, it gives you really important checkpoints. So say, for example, you wanted to lose 2 stone over the next 4 months. Now, just to break that up, that's going to give you half a stone every single month as a tangible, smaller goal for you to work towards. So ultimately, you can see here by now, setting that time-bound goal means that you know if you're on the right track, if you're making progress fast enough, and if you need to kick your butt up a gear. Likewise, with more personal goals, say for example, you have a holiday coming up and you want to have saved a certain amount of money for that holiday. If you know when you want that money saved, you can then break it up and it makes it so much more achievable. But ultimately, the biggest thing with setting time-bound goals means that you are more likely to act now rather than panic act when it's the last month or whatever of the year. Number 2 is something that I literally don't see anybody doing, and it's something that I get my clients to do very regularly throughout the year, and that's actually looking at your goals and reassessing regularly. Now, you can do this as often as you feel suitable. I personally look at my goals every single week. On a Friday, I will sit down, I will look at my goals for that particular month, and I will look at whether I have made the right progress towards those goals and therefore set new targets for the next week. If you are not regularly reassessing your goals, it's so easy, again, for them to go to the back of your mind and you end up in that last minute panic, which, let's be honest, most people do, or they give up, which is not the kind of person that you are. And I know that because otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video. So once you set those goals, I want you to set aside some time. It can be monthly or it can be weekly, it can be quarterly, it can be Ideally, probably no more than that, I would say, but you could do it every 6 months depending on the goals. And I want you to set aside time to look at those goals, look at where you are in relation to those goals, and then set the next steps to get yourself closer. Doing this also allows you to break up your goals into smaller, more manageable chunks rather than trying to tackle the whole thing in one go. So if we go back to that weight loss example of losing 2 stone in 4 months, if you're continually reassessing that goal rather than just looking at it as the whole 2 stone loss, which seems a lot more intimidating, if you break it down, you look at it as a smaller goal of 0.5 stone per month, at the end of each month, you can then look at where you are in relation to that goal and tweak your next month's goal relative to that. Which brings me really nicely onto number 3. And that is focusing on the process rather than always focusing on the outcome. Once again, I know you have super big goals that you are literally so fired up to achieve, but if we're constantly focusing on the end product and not focusing on what's actually going to get us there, i.e. the process, we're probably not going to end up getting here. Because for example, if you wanted to drive from London to Brighton, and you didn't know the route that was going to take you there, you're never going to get to Brighton. And it's exactly the same thing with our goals. We focus on the end product, but we don't focus on what's actually going to get us from where we are now to that end product or to Brighton. So once you set those goals, you've made sure that they are actually realistic for you and that they are time bound. I want you to break up what it is going to take to get to that goal. So let's go back to our 2 stone weight loss once again. We've set the goal. We know it's realistic. We know when we want to achieve it in 2 months' time. We know broken down what that is going to look like, 0.5 stone loss per month over the next 4 months. But what is the actual process that's going to allow you to do that? And again, this is a huge one where I see people slip up. They focus on that end product, not on the process to get them to that end product, not on the journey, visiting the service station, topping up the car with fuel, etc., etc. So in the sense of the weight loss, is it that you're going to set yourself a step target? Is it that you are going to start a local class or go to the gym, do some home workouts? Is it that you're going to start meal prepping or tracking your calories or whatever it is? There could be so many different things involved in just this one goal, but what is the process that is going to get you from where you're at now to your goal? Because just because we set goals, that doesn't mean they're going to happen. We have to put in the work to get there. And actually, in my opinion, that is the fun part. Another thought process that really helps myself and also a lot of my clients with crazy big goals is my big rocks theory. That probably sounds really strange to hear just off the back. But what I want you to focus on, if you think about having an empty jar, if we were going to fill that with rocks and sand, what you would do is you'd start by putting your bigger rocks or your pebbles in, which are going to fill the majority of the jar. That's going to get you seeing a majority of the progress. We're then going to top that jar up so it's absolutely jam-packed full to the brim with smaller rocks and sand, which is going to fill in those small cracks and allow you to have that full, complete jar, i.e. you getting to your goals. So what I want you to think about in relation to your goals, what are the big rocks that are going to get you seeing the most progress in the quickest way possible? You want to focus on these big rocks first. So going back to that weight loss example of 2 stone, you might focus on getting into a calorie deficit first, which you know is going to be the biggest thing that is going to get the weight moving. Once you've nailed that, you then may bring in another big rock, which is going to be your steps and your daily movement. Then once you've nailed that, you're going to look at, okay, what are the small things that I can do to really make sure I'm fine-tuning this process and getting the best results possible. So then you're going to start introducing things like your training, so you can make sure that you're maintaining muscle mass. You might further refine your nutrition, so you go and look at how many carbs you're having pre-workout to make sure that you're well fueled, how much protein you're having throughout the day to make sure that you're recovering well and make sure that you're also continuing to maintain your muscle mass. You might look at other lifestyle factors like how much water you're drinking, your sleep, your stress, all those other things. They're going to be your smaller rocks or your sand as well that are going to help still propel you towards those goals, but ultimately it's more of the fine tuning. So if you can start focusing on the big rocks first, relevant to your goals, that is going to get you seeing progress so much quicker, rather than trying to do everything all at once and just overwhelming yourself. So these are the 3 things that I want you to focus on throughout the rest of 2025 to get you out of this slump that you are currently in and finally on the way to those big goals that I know that you set back in January. So number 1, are those goals realistic and are they time bound? Setting a deadline is honestly such a game changer and it's not as scary as you think. You need that extra little bit of pressure. Number 2 is taking time to step back and actually reassess where you are at in relation to your goals at regular intervals throughout the year, rather than just forgetting about it and hoping that you'll get there by the time it gets to December. Finally, number 3 is focusing on the big rocks or the big action steps that are going to get things moving first of all, before you then throw in the smaller rocks or smaller steps that are more the fine tuning. Focus on those key areas, you'll feel way less overwhelmed and you'll see way more progress way quicker. And like I said at the beginning of this video, this is literally the exact process that I work on with my one-to-one clients, except all of this process is actually done for you. I do the thinking and then you just show up and you take those action steps. So if you're ready to accelerate your progress throughout the rest of 2025 and get out of this slump that you've been stuck in, hoping that you're going to achieve your goals over these first few months, then I want you to comment the word coaching down below, and we can have a chat to see if we are a good fit to work together on a one-to-one basis. I very much work with a small pool of clients, so it is super important to me that we are 100% aligned with your goals and with the steps that you're willing to take to get you there. And if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys found this helpful. And if you have any other questions, feel free to drop me a message on Instagram. I'll also make sure that that is linked below this episode for you. Thank you so much for watching if you did make it this far, and I will see you guys in the next video.